This is the first summary of the 2024 book Reorganization and Breakthrough, published by CITIC Press, authored by Professor Huang Qifan, an economist at Fudan University and the former mayor of Chongqing, China. The book would be in 12 episodes. Preface: The world can be reorganized. In January 2010, at Peking University's Guanghua New Year Forum, the author delivered a speech titled, "The World Can Be Reorganized." The title itself was inspired by discussion surrounding Thomas Friedman's concept of the world as flat in his 2005 book. The idea stemmed from the realization that, just as the world has become more interconnected and flattened through globalization, so too can industries, businesses, and entire systems be reorganized. The speech explores this concept of reorganization not only in the context of global events like the financial crisis, but also through personal experiences in leadership positions within various governmental and business sectors. This reflection serves as the introduction to a broader discussion of how the principles of reorganization, applied systematically and creatively, can be the key to overcoming complex challenges and seizing opportunities. The author frames reorganization as a crucial methodology for overcoming crises and inefficiencies. The financial crisis of 2008 exemplified how systems that relied on reorganization were better able to overcome difficulties. In the aftermath, the world had to depend on creative thinking and the restructuring of various sectors, from industries to governments, to capture new opportunities and restore stability. The underlying premise of the speech, and the subsequent book that this speech serves as an introduction to, is that reorganization is not a mere reaction to a crisis. It is a proactive approach that can lead to breakthroughs and long-term success. Central to the author's understanding of reorganization is a philosophical grounding in dialectical materialism, the Marxist theory of development that emphasizes change through the resolution of contradictions. The author references Mao Zedong's teachings in On Contradiction, where it is argued that all things in the world are in constant motion, influenced by internal and external forces. Reorganization, from this perspective, is about recognizing and altering these forces and relationships within a system, leading to optimized outcomes. The reorganization process, whether applied to a business, industry, or government, therefore becomes a method of recalibrating internal relationships, redefining the boundaries of operation, and introducing new conditions for success. In the practical sense, reorganization is often necessary when a business or institution faces long-standing structural inefficiencies. It may involve optimizing resources, restructuring management, revising organizational strategies, and sometimes even a complete overhaul of the company structure. In the case of the author's work, particularly during his tenure in Chongqing, this principle of reorganization was applied time and again to solve problems ranging from local economic downturns to issues of public service delivery and urban development. The author stresses that reorganization can be applied at any level of society, from the private sector to government institutions, and even in how we think about managing public resources. One of the key themes throughout the speech and the author's career is the distinction between incremental changes and transformative reorganization. While businesses and governments often make small adjustments to keep systems running smoothly, true breakthroughs require systemic rethinking and the application of creative, often unconventional solutions. For example, when faced with a deep economic recession in Chongqing during the early 2000s, the author realized that traditional economic stimulus measures would not suffice. Instead, he turned to the idea of resource optimization, restructuring local businesses, industries, and even public assets to revitalize the local economy. This approach was not limited to solving economic problems. One example from Chongqing involved addressing the issue of unfinished or abandoned real estate projects. The so-called Metro Center Garden project had been started in the 1990s, but was left incomplete when the developers ran out of money. The project had become a source of ongoing public dissatisfaction, with residents staging repeated protests and filing grievances with the local government. The problem was not only an economic one, but also a social issue, with the project's failure affecting the lives of over 1,000 families. The traditional approach would have been to either try to force the developer to finish the project or have the government compensate the residents. However, the author applied reorganization thinking, recognizing that a win-win solution could be found through a mix of financial restructuring and creative negotiations. By bringing together banks, creditors, developers, and local authorities, the author was able to renegotiate the debts associated with the project, restructure the terms of repayment, and enable new investors to complete the development. This not only resolved the grievances of the residents, but also created new opportunities for future urban development. In a sense, the project itself became a symbol of Chongqing's ability to tackle large-scale urban issues through reorganization, creating a model for other cities in China to follow. This story is emblematic of the author's broader philosophy that reorganization thinking can be applied to solve the most intractable problems in any sector. Whether it is a large corporation in need of a turnaround, a public service in need of reform, or an entire industry grappling with inefficiency, the principles of reorganization can provide the framework for meaningful change. The reorganization process often involves revisiting the basic assumptions that govern an organization or system and asking fundamental questions. What are the internal contradictions? What elements of the system need to be reconfigured? How can resources be optimally allocated? The author also discusses the importance of understanding the general principles of reorganization, particularly when it comes to identifying the right circumstances for applying this methodology. He identifies 5 specific reasons why reorganization thinking is essential. 1. Extraordinary growth or breakthroughs. When a business or government needs to achieve rapid growth or overcome stagnation, traditional methods may not suffice. Reorganization thinking allows for a fundamental shift in approach, often leading to substantial breakthroughs. 2. Addressing historical problems. Many persistent issues, such as long-standing debt or structural inefficiencies, cannot be solved within the traditional frameworks of the past. Reorganization provides a way to rethink old problems and find new solutions. 3. Solving widespread issues. When a common problem affects many parties, traditional methods fail to address the underlying causes. Reorganization offers the possibility of finding unique solutions that can benefit all involved. 4. Crisis management. In moments of crisis, such as financial downturns or natural disasters, reorganization can provide a way out, as it enables rapid shifts in priorities and resources. 5. Adapting to new environments. With the rise of globalization and shifting political landscapes, organizations must often rethink their strategies in order to succeed in a new and changing environment. Reorganization thinking is essential for seizing opportunities in this new globalized context. At the macro level, reorganization is also essential for advancing structural reforms. The author notes that economic and political reforms often necessitate a complete overhaul of existing systems, from resource allocation mechanisms to the very structure of government institutions. These changes cannot simply be incremental. They require a fundamental shift in thinking. The book highlights several examples where government policies were restructured, both in terms of fiscal management and urban development, to create more sustainable and efficient systems. The author offers a detailed explanation of the 5 institutional conditions necessary for successful reorganization. These conditions span across microeconomic and macroeconomic systems, ranging from corporate governance to national investment policies. The author's approach to reorganization always involves an understanding of the broader system in which an entity operates, recognizing that reorganization is not merely about internal changes, but about realigning external relationships as well. Additionally, the book delves into the various methods of reorganization. These methods range from boundary adjustments and resource reallocation to structural changes within organizations. The author stresses the importance of aligning interests during the reorganization process to ensure that all parties involved benefit from the restructuring, thus avoiding zero-sum outcomes that can derail the process. Equally important is the role of leadership in guiding the reorganization process, with the author emphasizing the need for leaders who can think strategically and manage complex negotiations. Through these principles and methods, the author argues, reorganization can transcend mere crisis management and become a tool for long-term success. The reorganization mindset emphasizes flexibility, strategic thinking, and adaptability to changing circumstances. It encourages leaders to approach challenges not as insurmountable obstacles, but as opportunities for growth and improvement. The final section of the book addresses the 5 essential qualities that leaders must possess in order to successfully guide a reorganization. These qualities include the ability to integrate knowledge from diverse fields, the ability to simplify complex problems, the skill to navigate policies and regulations effectively, the capacity to recognize and leverage resources, and the wisdom to avoid creating new problems in the process of resolving old ones. The author argues that leaders who embody these qualities are best equipped to manage complex reorganizations, ensuring that the process leads to lasting success. Ultimately, the text is a meditation on the power of reorganization, not just as a tool for solving problems, but as a philosophy for approaching both personal and organizational growth. By embracing the principles of reorganization thinking, leaders can create systems that are more flexible, resilient, and capable of adapting to future challenges. The author's experiences in Chongqing serve as both a guide and a testament to the transformative power of reorganization when applied thoughtfully and strategically.